Chapter 5. Physical and Chemical Changes. Introduction. You must have outgrown your clothes and shoes of last year. Compare your current height and weight with that of last year. It changes as you are growing. What type of change is it? When you grow, there are a large number of new cells forming in your body. Is this process reversible? Will you classify growth as a physical change or a chemical change? Physical changes. You already know that a physical change is the one in which no new substance is formed. If you tear a piece of paper, what change occurs in it? The shape and size of the paper changes, but it still remains a paper. Similarly, breaking of glass and melting of ice are also physical changes. What happens in a physical change? Let us see what happens in a physical change at a microscopic level. All substances are made up of small particles. These particles are made from different elements. In a physical change, the arrangement of particles undergoes a change, but the nature and composition of particles remains the same. When you tear a paper, its size changes, but the type of particles in it remain same. If you melt or vaporize a substance, the packing of particles changes, but the particles remain the same. Similarly, if you dissolve a substance in water or any other liquid, its particles spread out in the liquid without any change in their nature. Following changes can occur in a physical change. Change in shape and size. In a physical change, the shape of an object can change. For example, molding of dough or plasticine clay. Similarly, breaking of glass or sharpening of pencil changes its size. Change in form. In a physical change, a substance can melt or vaporize. For example, change in state of water from solid to liquid or liquid to gas. In the activity mentioned on previous page, you started with ice and ended with ice. In this process, you saw water in its three states: solid, liquid, and gas. The state of water can be changed by heating or cooling. At every stage, water changes its form, but its composition remains the same. Hence, this is a reversible physical change. In this activity, when you mixed salt with water, its particles spread out in water but did not change in their composition. This is why, when the water evaporated, you got the salt back. This too is a reversible physical change. However, some physical changes such as tearing of paper, breaking of glass are irreversible. Change in color. Sometimes in a physical change, a substance can show color change. This usually happens when you heat a metal. For example, if you heat iron, it will become red. On cooling, it gains back its original color. In place of knife, you can also use a metal hairpin, but you will need to hold it with a tongue. Crystallization. Crystallization is a physical change in which crystals of compounds can be made from their solutions. This method is normally used to purify an impure sample of a substance. The substance is dissolved in minimum amount of a solvent at a high temperature. Then the impurities are removed by filtration and the solution is concentrated by vaporizing the solvent. When the concentrated solution is cooled, it forms crystals of the pure substance. Chemical changes. A chemical change is the one in which a new substance is formed. As it was mentioned earlier, every substance is made up of small particles. If these particles undergo a change in their composition, a new substance will be formed. For example, if you pass electric current into water, the particles of water break down into oxygen and hydrogen gas. The nature of oxygen and hydrogen particles is very different from water. Such change is called a chemical change or a chemical reaction. A chemical change usually shows one or more of the following changes: change in color, change in smell, evolution of a gas, formation of a solid, release of heat or light. Sometimes there is no visible change in a chemical process, but there may be a change which can be detected by complex methods. Let us study few chemical reactions. In the above activity, when the candle is lit, the wax at the base of the wick melts, vaporizes, and burns. Melting and vaporization of wax are physical changes, but burning of wax is a chemical change. The wax particles are mainly made up of carbon and hydrogen. These particles combine with the oxygen in air as they burn and produce carbon dioxide and water vapor. Wax plus oxygen gives us carbon dioxide plus water vapor. However, some particles of wax are not able to burn completely. They change into carbon particles and glow in the flame. Then they rise up in the air as soot, which you see as smoke. The black deposit on the plate is the soot. Most of the changes that take place around us are chemical changes. Some of these changes are useful for us while others are harmful. Useful chemical changes. Photosynthesis is a chemical change that provides us with food. In photosynthesis, green leaves of plants change carbon dioxide and water into glucose with the help of sunlight. Respiration is a chemical change in which energy is produced in our body. The glucose is broken down in presence of oxygen to produce carbon dioxide and water. Cooking of food is a chemical change as raw food undergoes a change in its composition. Making of curd from milk is a chemical change carried out by a bacteria. Metals are extracted from their ores by various chemical processes. Medicines are made by complex chemical processes. Burning of fuel to produce energy is a chemical change. Undesirable chemical changes. Pollution is an undesirable chemical change as it is harmful for our health as well as environment. Spoiling of food is an undesirable chemical change. Corrosion of metals is an undesirable chemical change as it leads to loss of metals. Let us study more about corrosion. Corrosion. When things made of metals are exposed to air, they may react with oxygen, water vapor, or carbon dioxide to form chemical compounds. The layers of metal keep reacting to form such compounds, which are not useful. Such wasting of metal is called corrosion. Thus, corrosion can be defined as the slow wasting of metal on exposure to air and moisture. Metal like iron corrode very easily. Rusting. Corrosion of iron is called rusting. An iron object reacts with oxygen and water vapor in air to form a brown colored solid called rust. Rust keeps falling off, eating away all the iron. Keep a wet iron nail on a plate for a few hours. You will see it gets covered with a brown layer of rust. Rusting of iron can cause lot of damage to industries, as iron is mainly used in making machines and also in construction. Rusting takes place in presence of air and moisture both. Prevention of rusting. Rusting can be controlled by various methods. Some of them are as follows. Greasing. Parts of machines are coated with a layer of grease or oil to break their contact with air. Galvanization. Iron objects are coated with a layer of zinc metal to prevent rusting. Galvanized iron is used to make drums, buckets, etc. Electroplating. Iron objects are coated with a layer of less reactive metal like chromium by electrolysis. Electroplated metals are used to make crockery, cutlery, bathroom fittings and decorative things. Alloying. Iron is mixed with small amounts of other elements like carbon, nickel, chromium, etc. to form alloys which are resistant to rusting. For example, for construction purposes, steel is used which is a mixture of iron with a small amount of carbon. Steel is more resistant to rusting than iron. Stainless steel is an alloy of iron with nickel and chromium. It does not rust easily and hence is used to make cooking and eating utensils. In a nutshell, in a physical change no new substance is formed. Physical changes include change in state, shape and size of an object or substance. In a chemical change new substances are formed. Crystallization is a physical change in which crystals of a solid are made from its solution. A chemical change may involve evolution of heat, light, gas and sound. Solid formed in a chemical reaction is called a precipitate. Corrosion is an undesirable change in which a metal gets wasted on exposure to air. Rusting is the corrosion of iron metal. It takes place in presence of air and moisture. Rusting can be prevented by greasing, painting, galvanization, electroplating and alloying.